Hello, welcome back. My name's Grandmaster Daniel Gormally, and this is my channel, Hometown Hero 1 on YouTube. Today I want to talk about the English Chess Association and the £1 million that was given to the English Chess Association by the government. And also the fact that a Russian player, an ex-Russian player, is now the #1 in England. So so basically, I think the £1 million is essentially a result of the fact that Malcolm Payne is a very tireless worker in chess, and if it wasn't for people like Malcolm, Mike Turan, people behind the scenes, Alex Holochak, numerous other people I could mention, there would be no English Chess Association. Nigel Towers as well, I should give him a mention too. There would be no English Chess Association because these people keep it running. I think when you're a grandmaster, it's very easy to take the organisation side of it for granted. But anyway, going back to Malcolm, his basically passion for English chess has helped to kind of keep it at the forefront. Essentially he lobbied the government. I believe Dominic Lawson was possibly involved as well, who is the son of the ex-Conservative Chancellor Nigel Lawson, who died recently. And Dominic Lawson is also a passionate chess player. So I believe that's where the connection is. So obviously he knows Rishi Sunak personally. Rishi Sunak is an admirer of Nigel Lawson, apparently. This is what I heard. And therefore he was amenable to approaches. Therefore we have now got £1 million. What is that money going into? Well, I heard it was going into parks, which is a good initiative. So essentially a lot of people, most people learn at home, but there's some people that get into chess through playing in parks. And one of the players in the British Championships, Yi Chen Han, told us that apparently he learned chess in a park, which is quite remarkable. Now he's one of the better players in this country. Well, technically he represents the Netherlands. So that money's great. Now, one of the things that they've done with this16money, I believe, or one of the things that they've said, right, let's get cracking, is they brought Nikita Vitiugov, formerly from Russia, over to the English Chess Association. Clearly he's not in favour of the war in Russia. He's kind of made his anti-Putin sentiments, and therefore we've decided to snap him up. Now, a lot of people in this country, a lot of players, or well, I say a few players I should say, are maybe not terribly happy about this development, because they feel that Vitiugov will take away, or somebody like that, will take away a place from a natural born English player, which is a valid point, let's face it. But, we've seen in recent years the English team has declined. English chess has declined. We had a golden age of players like Tony Miles was one of the first players, Ray Keane, Nigel Shaw. Obviously, later on we had Michael Adams. Also going back even further, we also had John Spielman, John Nunn, Murray Chandler actually, but he was originally from New Zealand. So this is an unprecedented thing to happen. But I think in recent years we've declined as a chess nation. I think part of the reason for that is the fact that other countries have got a lot stronger. So you look at India, they have a tremendous strength in depth, that's obvious. India don't need to bring in new players because their players that they've already got are so promising that they're just going to continue to get stronger and stronger. China have got a lot stronger in recent years, although they don't seem to have any young players breaking through, which is quite interesting, in comparison to India. But it may well be that the young players they have aren't able to travel around as freely as some of the Indian players. And a number of other countries, obviously, United States have really set a template for bringing in players and taking over the national team. I kind of hope we don't go down that route, and I don't think we will, where all the places in our national team are filled with foreign-born players. The reason I wouldn't like to see that is I do think that, there is a sort of patriotic element to playing for England in any capacity. But we have seen this in other sports as well. We've seen this in stuff like tennis. We've seen this in athletics. It's essentially, I think you're living in the caveman times if you say, look, let's not bring in any players at all and just keep it all English. I think we need to kind of think ahead now. We're kind of falling behind as a nation, and Malcolm has brought this guy in partly to help younger players improve as well. We've seen with Kramnik and Gelfand how much they helped Gukesh and players like that, Pragananda, brilliant players who are potentially World Championship potential. That's a lot of potentials. But yeah, so we really need to kind of copy that template. And someone like Vita Ugov, with all his kind of Russian understanding, chess understanding, could potentially help our players. Because I don't think, to be honest with you, we don't really have world-class coaches in this country. We haven't had for many years. Obviously, we have got world-class players, but they generally don't get involved in the coaching setup. So I think if someone like that gets involved and helps the junior players, I think that's a tremendous benefit for this country. Now, there is obviously the short side element that he will fill a place potentially for someone like Daniel Fernandez or Marcus Harvey or Jonah Willow, Harry Grieve, like a younger player who could think about getting in the team now thinks, well, hang on a minute, we've got another place there that's been filled up. Well, yeah, you just have to get better. There's still the opportunity for you to improve. All the top guys won't play every single team event. So there is that. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Malcolm or somebody else brings in more players. There's also been players coming into the women's team as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see a big women's signing, like a 2,400 plus woman player brought into the England women's team, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. But it does take up a place that a natural-born English player could presumably take themselves. But at the same time, we're trying to help the younger generation. I think we've got very promising younger players at the moment. We've got people like Sheris Royal. We've got a Scottish kid, Freddie Gordon, who beat me in the British Blitz Championships last year. Very, very promising. Just recently got an IM and got a very good performance in the Title Tuesday as well. So he's improving all the time. So we've got young players who are like fantastic. But I think without the right kind of coaching, well, no, I think they'll be good anyway, but I think with the right kind of coaching, they're going to be even better. So that's my take on that. I do hope that some of this money filters down to players like myself, but I'm afraid that it won't. Because I feel that generally in this country we have tended to help the elite players more, which is understandable because they're the best. Again, get better. There's nothing stopping someone like myself from working really hard and getting up there. But all I would say is I would like to know if everybody has access to this money or has the ability to say, look, you go along to the ECF and you say, look, I've got this tournament in mind. I need 20k to run it. Would you be willing to put some of that money? Obviously, £1 million isn't an infinite amount of money. It needs to be properly proportioned. It's not a huge amount of money in the modern world, but it's quite a large amount of money for chess. The question is as well, so yeah, you go along and you say, look, I've got this money and I want to run a tournament because I've got a really good idea for a tournament. Will they go, no, sorry, we're putting this money into the men's Olympiad team. We're putting this money into this, into that, sometimes the sources are people who've already got money, who don't necessarily, in my opinion, need that money. But, yeah, anyway. But, yeah, the problem that I think we have in this country is we don't have a culture of sponsoring chess tournaments. At the British Championships recently, there were no sponsors. As far as I could see, there were no sponsors. There were no national sponsors. There were no local sponsors for that chess competition, which is ridiculous. Now bear in mind that the first prize in the British Championships this year was £5,000. That sounds like a lot of money. You go along, you play for 10 days, you win 5,000. Yes, that's great. Michael Adams won 5,000. It's good for him. But lower down, the prizes fall off quite quickly. I think there were only about 6 prizes. So it's very difficult to make a living as a kind of a 2450, 2500 player. You can forget about it. But also I do feel like the top prizes should be bigger. In the German Championships, it's normally about €30,000. So there should be the incentive. You've only got Adams there. You haven't got Gawain Jones. You haven't got Luke Shane. You haven't got David Howe playing. Why aren't they playing? Well, there's not a big enough incentive for them to play. Because the money isn't big enough. So it'd be interesting as well to see whether some of this money is proportioned towards the British Championships and whether or not we'll see an improvement in the British Championships. I hope we do, because I feel like in recent years it's another issue that we've had is the British Championships has become very kind of stale and it's kind of gone downhill and it doesn't feel like a really strong tournament anymore. You go back to 1997 when the first year of Smith and Williamson, get that out of me, Smith and Williamson sponsorship, you had quite a pretty strong field. You had Sadler playing, you had Adams playing, you had quite a few. Sasha Kieran was playing. I played Sasha Kieran, I believe, in that tournament. And it was just very, very strong. So that's my thoughts on the East. I'll have a lot of thoughts coming forward. Watch out for you. Watch out for yourselves, ECF. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you.